welcome to Catacris Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.catacris.com. It's my great honor to be interviewing Budderside Lead Singer Patrick Stone. How you doing today, Patrick?
Fantastic, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, now you guys are based out of Los Angeles, right?
Correct. Yes, we all met here. Yes.
Now I've been following you on Facebook for a couple years, and I'll tell you until your publicist reached out to me and told me about the latest single you guys have. I checked out the visualizer video that you have up for that. It's a pretty cool song, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But I also was going online and listening to some of the other songs off the album, and I got to tell you, I'm quite impressed, Patrick. I think anybody that's really kind of into like 80s hard rock will kind of dig what you guys are about, because I did not hear a single song that I did not like. I got to tell people that.
I really appreciate that, man. Yeah, it's good stuff, and it's getting better as we go. And you know, it's been a long time coming for me, but we've completely revamped the band, and it's a fresh bunch of faces and a fresh sound. We'll be releasing a lot of stuff, new stuff coming up this September. Starting this September, we're going to start crushing you with all of the stuff we've been creating ever since the pandemic hit, and since this new configuration has formed, and we just couldn't be more excited. And I really appreciate you digging in. Thank you.
Yeah, and I got to ask you, do you think that's what it is, kind of making changes in the lineup and that? Because I've of course heard the name Budderside. I've been aware of it, the band's around, but I think more and more people are starting to become aware of you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not an overnight success. Although at some point soon, I'd like to think that we're gonna. This thing coming up, I feel like is really going to catapult us. I think we're poised and ready to really make a difference in the rock and roll community. But I mean, I had Budderside with Jimmy Bain from Dio and Simon Wright from AC/DC. Those guys were in the band at one time.
Oh, wow.
So, I've been trying to get it right for a long, long time, and I've had a lot of love and support from my friends and the musicians I grew up with, and that took me so far. And now it seems like everything has really fallen into place. All the guys that were in the group before are now going on to become super successful. I think that we're poised and ready to be more successful than we've ever been, only because the songs now are going to be so good.
I'm assuming, being the singer, you're a principal songwriter. I got to tell you, the songwriting, I mean, that's really what kind of got me. I mean, I was checking out the song, for example, you have a video for Amber Alert, and that of course features Carla Harvey from the Butcher Babies. Talk a little bit about that song, because it's pretty much a metal tune, and I think her being on there, she actually, she really fits that song. And then the other single you have out is called The Things We Do, and I mean, people just go and listen to those two songs alone. I mean, it's like night and day. So I think that's really proof that if you're into metal, you're into something a little softer, there's really something on that album for everybody.
Yeah, man. I mean, I really like to keep track of like the subject matter that I talk about. I really think that a song needs a profound message, and definitely it needs to hit a nerve, and it needs to be something that was substantial in my experience, enough so to write about it. That way other people can connect to it. So each song is definitely completely different from one to the next. They're just completely different stories, and they are literally stories. It's not like I'm just shooting from the hip and hoping that I hit the bullseye. It's like something's really weighing on my conscience, and singing about it is the only way to really get myself through the experience. But when it comes to Amber Alert, we had so many songs that were so deep and spiritual, and just songs about everything from heartache to spirituality to to regret, and every aspect of every song that's in there. And then we had one song left over, pretty much the heaviest song on the record, and we hadn't written anything about sex and stuff like that. So I was like, God, I'd really like to write about something raunchy for this one. Something exciting about girls, because who doesn't love them? I mean, for me, it was. So anyway, I kind of started to manifest this energy, I guess, and before I knew it, this girl walked in, and the lyrics poured out within a day after meeting this girl, and the whole story ensued, and then it was a perfect excuse. Carla and I have wanted to collaborate for a long, long time. We've been friends forever, and we always wanted to do something sexy, and until this opportunity came up, it hadn't been there yet. And when it did, I reached out, and she jumped on the opportunity, and yeah, the magic happened.
And I think she's the perfect one to, for that song. And I mean, it's a perfect combination, you and her, because I mean, the Butcher Babies, I gotta say, is one of my favorite bands. And part of the reason, okay, you got two sexy girls fronting the band, but it's more than just the way they look. I mean, they've got talent and looks, and it's kind of a combination of looks and beauty and talent, and they can definitely get down with any metal guy, but
yeah, they've definitely proven themselves over the years here. I mean, I watched that thing go from, like, I think they had 5 girls fronting the group, 4 or 5 girls were fronting the group at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then people started to catch on that this is, they had that thing that people wanted to talk about, they wanted to see it, and just to watch them grow musically over the years has just been such a pleasure to see it firsthand, and like to watch the last album they came out with, all of the new songs they're coming out with, have just evolved into like this a much more melodic kind of song structured, presence that they have in their music, and I just love seeing that. Not that Jesus needs more babies for his war machine.
Yeah.
That shit is so badass and rips your freaking skin off. But at the same time, the new stuff really, I think, it hits you melodically in a way that the older stuff didn't. So them, just like us, they're taking risks. They're working with people that like they've always wanted to work with. They're not afraid to take a chance on something and try something new, and I think it's really paying off for them as well as it's going to pay off for us. We're actually working with the same producer. They went in and saw Matt Good, and we've just gone in and saw Matt Good. In fact, we're going back to Tempe in a couple of weeks to record some more with him, and I mean, the results are just phenomenal.
Yeah, and talk about metal icons. I mean, I understand you guys were signed to Motorhead Records, the metal god himself, Lemmy. So what was that like? How did you guys first come in contact with him, and talk a little bit about him signing you to his label?
Well, to be totally honest, I was a junkie and an out-of-control drug addict running around Los Angeles, and I went to every single party there was, and there I was at Motorhead's party one night. Fell in love with a girlfriend that hung out with them, was super tight with Lem. We were together, I think, 5 years, and over the course of that 5 years, I really developed a relationship with not only Phil, but Mickey and Lemmy, of course, immensely. And, one day Phil was on the phone with his roadie, and he couldn't make it overseas for the tour, so Phil was like, I don't have a roadie, and I was like, yeah, you do. So off we went, and there I was working for them. But they had always been behind me. Their manager, Todd Singerman, was always just always encouraging me to do my music, and so did Lemmy. He always told me that I should be in front of the stage, not behind it. They just believed in me. They always did. Phil was always coming over and collaborating with me. He was on a lot of my demos. So going into the studio with Lemmy's son to record our debut record was just it just seemed so right. I'd been singing for bands like Steven Adler's group, singing Guns N' Roses songs and trying to fit that mold for a while, and I've always wanted to and felt like I was born to be a songwriter and do my own thing. So when they gave me that opportunity to do it, I jumped on it, and it's propelled me to this point, and I couldn't be more grateful for everything that I learned and everything I got out of just knowing all of those guys. Yeah,
and as a new fan myself, coming on board to what you guys are doing with Budderside, I got to say thank Lemmy for that, because see, as great as it might be for you to be playing in Steven Adler's band and singing all those great Guns N' Roses songs, I can tell just stuff I was listening to last night. Your music, man, like you really write from the heart, and what a shame if all people ever got to see was you doing Guns N' Roses songs. I mean, because you have all this great music, in you.
Right, that was all of our feelings too, and I'm glad that I had people that were, behind me enough that I believed in myself enough to do it. It's funny because you walk through life thinking that that's what you're going to be, and there's always this thing in the back of your mind that like you're actually doing it. But I mean, I don't feel like I actually gave 100. Like I thought I was giving 100%, but it's like today I can tell you that I'm giving 110%. Like there's not a moment that goes by that something's not happening for the group, and I'm jumping on every opportunity. And Lemmy saw a lot in me when I got sober. He really got behind me. He watched me struggle with addiction. It was rough. I mean, I was the worst of the worst. I was homeless. I was 6'2" and 130 pounds maybe. Wow. I was just emaciated and anorexic and disgusting, and I couldn't form a sentence. And he still loved me. I still hung out with those guys, and we had a great time. I mean, there's no doubt about the party was amazing. But when I finally got serious about my life, he enabled me the opportunity to do so. But which also led to that we're talking about things we do. You brought that song up.
Yeah.
Half of that whole song was written in the depths of being a junkie as well, and being in a band again. The Guns N' Roses connection. West Arkin was this amazing guitar player and songwriter.
Yeah.
He wrote "It's So Easy" and "The Garden" and many Guns N' Roses songs. And he had a band called The Outpatients. His singer George had died from an overdose, and in walked myself into his life, and I was supposed to take George's place. And as we were recording, West, accidentally took his own life with an overdose. He died, and that spawned the actual lyrics to the song "Things We Do," which I would hunch over in a den of junkies, and I would pop my head up every once in a while and be like, someday this part of this song, there's going to be a choir of children singing this, and all of my friends laughed at me.
Wow.
And fast forward around a decade later, there I am watching this children's choir, the music children's choir, file into NRG Studios while Jay Baumgartner, legendary producer, is producing us to record that very song and finally get it right. So, it's one step at a time with everything.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Patrick. I think I was reading on the press release the publicist sent me that in talking about your addiction, that you were addicted to crystal meth. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was my favorite, or better,
and so,
for lack of a better word, the worst thing that ever happened to me. But
I mean, I hear people talk about that and heroin. They say they're just about as bad, because once you get a hit of it, you can never quite quit it.
Man, I stayed up for 14 days once. It's hard to believe. It's impossible to believe. And I wouldn't believe that somebody was humanly capable of doing that unless I'd done it myself. But I literally was at a stoplight and believed, is this crazy? I was stupid enough to be driving.
Wow.
14 days up. Not a nap. Not one nap.
Wow.
I was doing so much of this crap. I was on Laurel Canyon in Oxnard, and I knew I was supposed to take a left turn to get down to the freeway out there in North Hollywood. And I remember looking up at the stoplight, and I couldn't remember if a light being green, like I couldn't tell colors anymore. Everything was so washed that I couldn't tell green from red. And then my mind was so screwed up, I was like, wait, was red on top or was green on top?
Wow, okay.
Like green or red. Yeah. And I was like, how many days have I been up? And I remember pulling over and like calculating exactly like when the last time I had some sleep was, because at that point I didn't have anywhere to live. So it was like you just kept bouncing from one place to the other, and to survive I was dealing and doing whatever I had to do. But I overdosed many times.
Oh, wow.
Went to the hospital. I almost died so many times.
Thank God, God had another plan for you. But, so let me ask you, what do you think that made you finally kind of sober up with it? Was it like seeing people like West Arkin die, or did you just get tired of, like a lot of people, tired of being sick and that?
Yeah, no, after West, I kept going for years. It got worse and worse and worse. I was definitely on my deathbed, man. I was getting ready to basically, looking back, I think I was on the path to suicide, and I wouldn't be,
you wouldn't be doing this today.
I'm pretty sure I was about to do the dose that was going to do me in, and I feel like some kind of magical. I mean, I don't feel like some kind.
I know what you mean. Yeah, like somebody saved you.
There was definitely an intervention. You can call it God. I can
whatever.
Call it Jesus. You can call it the universe. But my father was experiencing a heart attack, and a friend of his that had borrowed some Tupperware had stopped by randomly to return this Tupperware a few months after borrowing it, just randomly. And he found my father on the floor having a heart attack, and my phone number was on a list of family contacts on the computer. And this guy called me while I had a needle in my arm, literally. And I get the call, and I see that it's an area code from my father's place. Mm-hmm. And my father and I had an extreme falling out for the longest time.
Oh, wow, another sign, right?
Yeah, so so I answered the call, and this guy Lance was on the other end of the line, and he says, "Hey, your dad's having a heart attack. Would you like to talk to him?" And from there, I just kind of basically went into shock, and there was some kind of small bit of like a tunnel vision, or like some bit of clarity that led me all the way to the pawn shop to get a little bit of money, to get a friend to drive me to the airport. And within a couple hours, literally within a couple hours, I was lucky enough to be up in Tahoe, picked up by the crew at the hospital, taken to my dad's room where he was still unconscious, and he had been flown from one hospital all the way there because they'd cured his heart attack, and then he had a stroke, and they had to operate on his brain, so he had brain surgery. And if I can try to make this story shorter, make a long story short, basically, I prayed every day for weeks while I was kicking dope, going back and forth to his house, and I asked the Lord above if he could just please save my father so I could fix that relationship. I promised that I would never, ever do anything to ever hurt myself again, and I would set my sights on those dreams that I always had and what I thought I was born to be, and I would never look back, and that's exactly what I've done.
Well, I tell you, Patrick, I mean, I wasn't there, but I tell you, if that's not God tapping on your shoulder, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, no, it is.
And it's interesting because this is your second album. This one that just came out March 26th, Spiritual Violence, and oftentimes the band they'll have what's called the sophomore jinx, where maybe you have a great selling debut album, just a huge hit like, let's say, Appetite for Destruction, and then you do this sophomore album and that's not as good as the first album, and people kind of get turned off. A lot of bands have suffered through that, but for you it's kind of opposite. People were kind of getting really a taste of you for the first time, the second time around, for whatever reason. And again, maybe that was God's plan. Who knows? And you mentioned having some very high profile people in the band. I mean, Jimmy Bain, Simon Wright. I mean, Simon, from everything I've heard him talk about the last several years, he got real close with Ronnie Dio when he was the drummer for Dio, and I know he was living for Ronnie and his wife Wendy for a while. And legendary Jimmy Bain from Rainbow and Dio and all. And that, so what was it like playing with those guys? I mean, people forget Simon also before that he played in AC/DC.
Yeah, freaking A, man. Like so many musical experiences for me have been just out of body experiences where it's like I look back and I'm like, am I making this up? And like I have to
pinch myself. Right
now. Every time I have an interview and something like this comes up, I'm like, wow. I mean, I could die today and actually have quite an amazing history, but I ain't done yet. But
I'm glad to hear that.
Jimmy, playing with Jimmy Bain was like one of my favorite memories of all time. His character was actually he's just one of my favorite people ever. He would come over and again, drug-fueled freaking, night after night. I mean, we would go and write songs that I don't think we even took a break for a day. We would play for 24 hours straight, and the recorder would be on, and we'd write these things, and that is inevitably what led to an Interscope, a little bit of a deal where we could go in, we would sneak in. It was funny. They were recording Chinese Democracy back then.
Oh, wow.
In the next room, and we would go in there, and I would sit outside with my engineer Brian, and we would wait for them to finish, or it was No Doubt one night, Guns N' Roses another night, but we were in this big house studio, and we would sneak in as soon as they left, and sometimes the candles were still lit in there, and these guys that brought me in, the people that worked at Interscope, just saw something in the songs, just like Jimmy did and Simon did. And actually, it was Jimmy that brought Simon into play, and we actually got together at this is funny, my roadie today, Fitz, had a house that he was renting out in the valley, and Interscope literally brought all of their equipment over there because it was too booked up. But the engineers came over to record the drum tracks with Simon over there at this house. That was anyway. We set up and we recorded over there. We did a couple songs, which I thought was going to turn out to be something else, but now they're just demos, and I might re-record those songs sometimes. But Cordell Crockett was in the band from Ugly Kid Joe.
Oh wow.
Some of the guys from Great White were in there for a while. I mean, I have threaded through so many different lineups, but now I think I've got the one that I'm just hold. It's just such a great. Right now, if you catch us live, it's just fire.
And then that had to be awful. Do you remember how you heard the news about Jimmy passing away on that cruise ship? Did you like a lot of people just read on the internet? Did somebody call you or?
And that's crazy. I'm trying to remember. I think it was Julie, his girlfriend, that called me.
Wow.
Yeah. Jimmy was my roommate for a while. He lived with me over on Fairfax and Melrose over there. It was crazy, man. I had 14 bunny rabbits. I started with one, and then I felt bad for it that it needed a friend, and then before I knew it, I had 14 bunny rabbits, and we were so high all the time.
Oh, wow.
We were so out of control over there. But Julie lived there with me. Jimmy was there with me. God, I just love those guys so much.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, and then Lemmy too. When you hear about news, it's like I could imagine like a lot of us, you were fans of these guys and the different bands, Motorhead and Dio and AC/DC and Rainbow, and then as a fan, you get to meet these guys and hang out with them and play with them and write songs. That's like you're having the ultimate experience, as a fan.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. It was like, and I mean, that's really what I'm in music for the most. It's like the writing experience, and then to listen back to it after it's been recorded professionally there's nothing more there's nothing more rewarding.
Yeah.
And that really, I mean, someday I still would love to live. I mean, I will. This is the ultimate plan, is to be in front of 60 to 100,000 people at least 2 or 3 times a week, and to hear them singing back your songs. I've had a little bit of that at the Bakken Festival. There were a few people singing back, but not like you dream about.
Yeah. And
I have a feeling that alone will be the most rewarding experience that I could possibly ever hope to live for. But internally, as an individual, just being part of that process and to hear something back that you've recorded, and then to have worked on it with people that you've always dreamt of working with, there's nothing more rewarding than that, and that's also what that holds my head high, and it's probably a good reason why I don't get upset or get frustrated or blow up at people or become a total dick in life, because when things could probably fuel you to argue with other people or get upset about things, I have enough within me
to worry about.
Just being so grateful for all of those experiences that I think I kind of keep my cool where others don't. Hopefully that leads me to a better place with the people that I'm working with now.
Yeah, and being that you don't have an out of control ego, and you kind of have that humility, like you'd have some guys, playing the band maybe say, I'm not gonna take down the equipment. That's what a roadie's for. But you're a type guy, like you said. No, here, I'm gonna get in there, and you need a roadie, I'll be your roadie. And then just through doing that, you get a record deal.
Right.
Somebody hears your music. Hey, that's cool. I mean, if you got that kind of humility and you're willing to get in there, I mean, you sound like a guy that's paid his dues, and so it's good to hear a story like that, and things are finally starting to happen to you. I think that's a huge part of why people probably meet you for the first time. Well, he seems like a nice enough guy. Oh, he's got some talent too.
Appreciate that. Yeah, man. It's
And what do you think? Like, you guys seem to have a pretty good little fan base going. I think you got a big kind of internet thing going. Are you finding out more and more people are kind of finding out about you just through being on the internet?
Especially over the last year, yes, of course. I mean, we haven't played a show, and we managed to keep reaching out to, thanks to the internet, It's
how I found out about you. I got to tell you, and you're in good company. I mean, you got a lot of great people behind, supporting you in the band. I mean, to start with, just so people know, you and your little band happen to have the same publicist as, Kiss and Britney Spears, and so I mean, you're pretty good company there.
Yeah, no, I'm super grateful for the people that we've been connected with now more so than ever, and the names are going to get bigger and brighter as we keep marching forward. But I've been very grateful to have people that work really hard and really believe in the group, and I do everything I can not to let them down. I try to meet every obligation that we agree upon. It's about business too, and I think I've got a good reputation for that. Everybody I've ever worked with knows that I'm a Lannister, man. I pay my debts.
That's good. Yeah, that's what people like, especially in the music business. Now, I love that title of the album, Spiritual Violence. I mean, it's kind of what you're talking about. Kind of, you're kind of a spiritual guy, and there's good and everything, I guess, in the spiritual world. So that's kind of like you said, a lot of these songs are based on your own life story and pages out of your own personal life. I would imagine just listening to some of it.
Yeah, spiritual violence. It's crazy. I didn't even know it was. There's actually a definition for it in the
really?
dictionary. I had no idea. It's actually like the persecution of a specific race or religion.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you would release.
It's a religion, but like or the oppression of one, which is funny to find out. But spiritual violence just rolled off of my tongue while trying to think of a better way to describe how we as people, even when you're in love with somebody, you care about somebody, sometimes you find yourself like, on a spiritual level, digging at them or cutting them or, damaging them, injuring them, sometimes in subtle ways that aren't really seen on the physical surface. And yet underneath, spiritually, you're attacking someone, with words or, things you do or gaslighting somebody,
words can kill. People don't realize that,
and it's violence going on all around us, man. You gotta be a warrior or a soldier and have your guard up.
And you look at the world we're living in now, Patrick, and it's amazing that you not even know what the real definition of that meant. You come up with it on your own, and it's kind of interesting the times we're living in, because every time you turn on the TV, at least for me, they somehow infuse race and religion into every single topic, every little discussion, every little thing you hear on the news. It's all about race or religion or, you're good, I'm bad, and all that.
Right. I mean, for people that are probably out there or to blame for those kind of things, for me, I go face to face with it every day. I'm in Hollywood, California. I hang out with more black people on a daily basis than probably most white people ever do. They're my biggest support network. They are helping me to achieve things that I could not possibly imagine doing without them. So I'm super grateful for that, and I'm just, you can't help but walk down the street and feel everything, but I think that's also, it's a beautiful thing. I think it helps me to grow. It helps me to become a better person. I'm more aware, for lack of a better word, I'm woke, but the LGBT community too as well, you know what I mean? It's like we're all in this together, and every day I find myself falling more and more in love with people that are different from myself, for the reasons that that they should be loved for, and that has nothing to do with the color of their skin or who they're having sex with, but yes, you are right. I think that we are definitely in a time, in an era where we are definitely trying to be shaped into something that I feel like the critical mass has a problem with, I think we're all trying to fight it. We're trying to go along with it because there's this underlying, all the news is laced with like these things that we need to do for the better of mankind. And you have, it forces you to pay attention to it and to play along with it. But I have faith in the human race. I believe that we're all, again, being face to face with it on the streets of Hollywood every day, I feel like we're still fighting this thing outside of what we see on the televisions. But it's also that, or your phones, you know what I mean? It's forcing us to kind of face these issues, which is obviously, part of the master plan. So let's just be part of this struggle together and try to let one another know that, there's so much to be learned about one another now that could fuel us into becoming, something that shares the promised land together in this lifetime. So
now let me ask you, you being an entertainer, a singer and a songwriter, a guy who plays in a band, how do you feel about censorship? I mean, have you ever had anybody try to ban one of your songs or kind of misinterpret what the song's about? How do you feel about stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, especially with a title like Amber Alert, you have to imagine so many comments popped up.
And just think when people type in that, what comes up,
Yeah, because, you think about, that term in itself could, bring up a lot of bad feelings for some people that might have had their child abducted, and maybe lost them to that. So you definitely don't want to tread on people's feelings. You have to be careful, especially now. I mean, my band members, the band roughly is around 25 years old. Everybody in the group is around, they're not even 30 yet. So so they're very conscious and more aware than I am of cancel culture and like things you can't say. And I mean, I'll put up a post probably once a month, at least once a month, and I'll get a call immediately. Hey, take that down. You know what I mean? Because I still have a foot in the past a little bit. Like, I drag these things into the modern day world, and they show me the reflection, and it's pretty ugly. Sometimes you can't be sexist. You can't be, it's just like people can interpret things a certain way. So you have to be really careful.
Yeah, what's even sadder than that is, people that maybe, said something like, 15, 20 years ago, and then somebody goes back and I found a tweet from, 10 years ago, and they said this, and let's cancel this person. They're a racist, or whatever the case may be, And it's like, come on, they were maybe not as mature as they are now. They maybe didn't understand what they were saying. You have to go back 10 years to find something bad that person said.
Yeah, but it's kind of giving us a great, all the cancel culture and everything like that. It's giving us a great platform to, something's brewing. I see a lot of people standing for different, interpretations of how life should be right now and how we should handle things. And there are so many different spikes going up all over the place from different individuals. And it's like, we're finding there's going to be a big there's a strong platform coming. It's growing and it's going to create itself. And, the right person is going to be standing on that podium, and they're going to say the right thing. And all of a sudden, the new wave of the next big thing is going to strike. And I think it's rock and roll. I think it's going to be dressed in rock and roll. I mean, all of the different, musicians that have been on the pop side of things and without musicians for so long are now incorporating rock and roll kind of instrumentation into their stuff. And so many rock bands are popping. And it's a great time to be in rock and roll. It's going to be it's going to be an even better time to be in rock and roll because of all of this censorship and everything else. People are dying to figure out when we can speak our minds again, and we have so much to say that isn't wrong and shouldn't be frowned upon. Like, we want to speak out, we want to scream out. We're ready to just blow up. So let's do it. Let's blow up. Let's let everybody know how we really, really feel, and I hope that will be rewarded. Freedom of speech, man, that should be rewarded when you speak up. If you truly feel something about a certain issue, you should be able to talk about it. And people can argue with you and disagree with you, but, if they can find that they believe in what they believe in, they can be reaffirmed that what they think is right if they actually disagree with you. But they should listen.
See, that's what I miss, is there used to be a time when you could actually have a conversation with somebody, have a debate where you did not have to see eye to eye. Everybody doesn't. I mean, I kind of to myself think how boring the world would really be if everybody just thought the same thing, And I always thought, it's an educated thing to ask a question. And what I hate more than anything is people say, well, if you don't think like me, I don't want to talk to you. You're wrong. I'm good, and all that. It's like, well, we can have a difference of opinion. At least I think we can, and be friends. That's just me.
Yep.
But you get back to your music. I got to tell people, I really urge people to go out and buy this album, Spiritual Violence, because just from my own ears listening to it, I mean, like I said, every song really kind of stands out on its own. No two songs sound just alike, and I think for fans of this type of music, that is what a lot of rock fans are looking for these days. I mean, you really, I think, are a spiritual guy, because I listen to all this stuff on your album, and I mean, you're a guy that really writes from the heart. I mean, even let's take the song again, the latest single, which is The Things We Do. It's partly about your struggle with drug addiction, losing a friend to addiction, and you can kind of hear all of that. Like I said, I read the press release your publicist sent me. I'm like, wow, yeah, I can hear that's what this is about, and it's really a heartfelt song, And then like you got Amber Alert, the song with Carla Harvey, that's a real metal tune. Again, it's almost like like I'm a Motley Crue fan, and as much as I like listening to Looks to Kill, that's a great tune and all that. Piece of Your Action, all those early great Motley Crue tunes. The thing about it, Patrick, is I also appreciation for like Tom Petty and the Eagles. Why? Because all those guys like you, they're great songwriters. You can listen to any of those songs these guys wrote, and you can kind of, there's a story they're telling that you can kind of, if you really sit there and listen, you can kind of interpret what they're talking about,
That's the most important thing, and you got to strip away all the BS, all the production, everything else. If you can sit down with like the piano and a guitar and then tell a story, I think that's what really makes a great song. I mean, John Fogerty had it, you know, CCR.
Yeah.
The Indigo Girls have it, you know, John Denver. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, it's like, you know, Johnny Cash. You know,
yeah. You bring up John Fogerty. I mean, I love all that classic CCR stuff, and it's amazing that I mean, he was such a hit maker. He wrote all the hit songs. He was a great singer. And the sad thing about it, I don't know if you know the story, but was him and his brother, they just, I mean, all the guys in the band, but especially him and his brother, they hated each other. The brother died, and even after he died, he talked about, you know, when they got inducted into Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, John Fogerty didn't even refer to him as my brother. He just said, "Oh, my bandmate Tom, he's no longer here," or whatever. But you know, being in a band where the guys all hate each other, but it makes for beautiful music. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know that. You know, it's funny. I was in a. Here's a cool little piece. So, Chip's Enough from Enough's Enough.
Yeah.
He was also in Adler's Appetite with me, with Steven Adler.
Oh yeah.
And then we had this opportunity to do a CCR cover band, and it paid amazing. And we went overseas and did it in Europe for I think an entire month or more.
Yeah.
We were over there every night singing CCR songs.
I don't know if they get stuff like that over there, so that's probably why it was such a big...
They love it over there. Every venue, I mean, we were playing huge theaters, and they were packed.
Yeah.
It was out of this freaking world. It was so great. And I mean, Chip, there's no such thing as a bad time with that guy. Everywhere he goes, it's just the best to be with him. He's so fun, so loving. I love Chip's Enough so much.
Yeah, you know, and all Betty and us, I mean, I know they grew up like as you know, on the Beatles and stuff. They sound like a hard rock Beatles to me. I mean,
to have Chip, you know, backing you up with harmonies is a dream. It's just a total dream. It's just like, wow, you know, all of a sudden you sound 10 times better than you ever thought you could singing.
So what was the time period when you were in Adler's Appetite? Was that
That was 2011.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
The beginning of it, yeah.
Yeah, because I know the original singer. I think Colby Vale. He's got a great Guns N' Roses tribute. He does a great Axl.
Yeah, he's cool, man.
Yeah,
I like Colby a lot.
Yeah. And let me ask you. You mentioned playing some like big time European festival. What's that like? You know, a guy like you. Because I know a lot of those European festivals. They're like, you know, you're on a pretty big stage, and the crowds are really you know, monster.
Yeah, we were, I mean, super fortunate. Of course, Lemmy's label, UDR, at the time, when we first signed up with Motorhead Music, they were under the umbrella of UDR.
Yeah.
Owned the festival. And
that's how you
so they brought us over there to do it. And that first year was freaking crazy. Ectomorph was there, who I've toured with before with another band of mine called Steel Grave. It's a black metal freaking band. Time of our lives, you know, playing to a crowd that big. We actually filmed a video for Genocide that first year.
Wow.
Right there on the festival, this the Wasteland Warriors area where everything looks like Mad Max, kind of post-apocalyptic. Yeah. Totally just wow to walk into that set and then steal it for your video. It was just a dream come true. And then we were fortunate enough to go back, and the last time we did it, we were playing the same night as Judas Priest.
Oh, wow.
They were literally all the way across the festival, right in front of us, and we could see the stage. You know, it's really small from where we were standing.
Yeah.
We were on the Wasteland Warriors stage, and you know, right as we're getting ready, it was like, oh man, there's really nobody in front of us. You know what I mean? We're gonna play for nobody. You know?
Wow.
And it was the first night that they had the pyro up and running, and Judas Priest stopped. All of the lights went out over there, and all of a sudden the fire started spitting out from above us, above the stage there. And it was so hot. There was so much fire going into the sky and beside us. It felt like you were getting a sunburn, like instantly.
Oh, wow.
It would be like...
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And then you just feel this heat, and you're like, what the... You know, so the fire's going, the pyro's up, and you see the crowd running like a cavalry coming towards you during a civil war, and then they all just rush up to the stage, and the 4 count starts, and our set begins, and people are singing along, and it's just out of, you know, like I said, that's what I live for.
Yeah, was that your first time in Europe? Was that your first time you've been to Europe?
You know, my mom is German, so she was born in Wilhelmshaven, you know, northern Germany, so I've spent a lot of time over there.
Oh, wow.
growing up, we'd visit, and gosh, I've been over there just so many times. It just happened to work out that we'd go and tour over there, or I'd go and visit. But I've toured over there with a few different bands a few different times. I've been over there with Budderside, I think 3 times now. So it's like a second home, you know what I mean, practically. I love it over there. Just love this. Like, as soon as I land, it's just the smell and the feeling in the air. It feels like home.
Yeah, because I hear the funny thing is, like, a lot of the European people just love the American bands. So, you know, you go over to Europe and they have such an appreciation, much so than a lot of people do for rock music here in America. And, you know, a lot of times people in America, they just love the European bands, you know?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, again, back to the songs. Great music is great music, you know?
Yeah.
Over in Germany, I'm sure they hate the shitty bands just as much as we hate them over here as well.
Yeah, but I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day, told me about, like, they went and they were playing in Japan, and they were saying how, you know, a lot of these Japanese kids, you know, they're listening to American rock bands. They can't really understand what's being said, but they just kind of go along with the music, and they have such an appreciation for it.
Yeah, Japan is killer, man. We can't wait to go over there. We've had a tour booked over there since, like, I think late 2019. We were supposed to head over there, and then all of this COVID crap started happening. They postponed, and now they postponed it all the way through 2020 and all the way through 2021. But I think we're going to play Osaka and Tokyo beginning of 2022. We went over there and shot a video for Zen off of Spiritual Violence. It's filmed. We went all the way to Japan to film that.
And see, that's a pretty good sign. I when I was checking all your stuff out last night, I mean, you've already released like 3 or 4 singles off this album. That's a pretty good record.
That's a 4th week. Was it 1, 2, 3? Yeah, 4. We've released 4 singles off this one now. And now, I mean, I would keep releasing more. I feel like it's like our Instagram page. You know, I try to spread out like the subject matter of like each song and give each song its space, and like I'm running out of time. Like, we are literally going to start releasing new music at the end of this month, and I haven't even, you know, discussed or explained a lot of the stories and stuff behind the songs for this album, which is super exciting because it seems probably to the people that have liked us from the beginning that it's been a long time.
Yeah, you're taking me back, talking about Motorhead, or even like growing up as I was a major Kiss fan. I remember Kiss back in the day. You get sometimes you get like two Kiss albums in 1 year. I mean, like, you're kind of on that trajectory, and that's great, because a lot of bands, you know, Patrick, especially during COVID and everything and all these lockdowns, a lot of bands put off on releasing. Well, we're not going to put anything out there until we can get out there and tour. But I dig the fact that you're still, you know, you're such a workhorse. You're still putting out new music. I mean, and I think that's great for the fans. So you're telling me you just got this album out March 26th, and the next one's already like a month or 2 from being released? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, tentatively we're looking at like August 27th, or definitely the Friday before we play Rocklahoma. We want to release the first single, and the plan now is to release a single every 4 to 6 weeks, and we're going to do that until we're dead. You know, we're going to keep this. We've recorded enough songs. We've got a lot in the arsenal. We've been recording videos and lyric videos and everything that you could possibly.
Your videos look very professional. I got to say. I mean, it looks like something you would have seen on, MTV back in the day.
Yeah, man, I've fallen in love. Creating videos is one of my favorite things to do. It's just so exciting. There's so much to it. It just keeps your mind freaking, you know, fly. For me, it keeps it flying. Just like the ideas have to be on point, and like to watch something flood into your mind about like an idea, and then to take it to where, like, you know, there's a visual in your head, and then like see it on a screen, you know, just like listening back to a song that was at one point not even an idea in your brain.
It's almost like almost like a mini movie, you know. So like I was going to ask you, so like you know, of course when you write these songs, you know what the songs are about. So like when you go to, you know, get an idea to create a video, do you ever get like other ideas that kind of, maybe we could do this in the video, maybe we could make the video about this, even though it's maybe the song itself is maybe about something else?
Yeah, definitely I allow the universe to give us a detour, because, you know, sometimes a song specific, you know, the actual story behind the song isn't, I don't know, just usually it's something else sparks some kind of like dramatic, theatrical kind of, you know.
And so, if you don't mind, before I'll let you go pretty soon because I just enjoy talking to you, Patrick. But Amber Alert, what was that about? Because I tell you, the video, very, very visual. I mean, besides having Carla Harvey in the video, I love the carnival atmosphere. I mean, it just really brought it to life. It gave it that extra something, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, back when writing songs early on, I remember there was a few songs that we almost called the Psycho Circus. There was just parts in the music that actually sounded like that.
Wow.
That spin wheel that we put, that musical instrument that we put on the beginning of the video. This chaotic kind of a crazy clown. Like the music almost makes you think of laughter, like some psycho laughter. So like
almost like the Joker.
Right, just like that whole, essence. I've always wanted to film something at a circus, and looking back on all of the videos, we've done a boxing ring, we did the post-apocalyptic thing, we've done, we did the Japan, the horror, the these monsters and this ghost and all these things, and it was like, what do we do next?
I mean, visually, you accomplished that, and I guess before I let you go, I should ask the obvious question, which is, can you tell me how you came to name the band Budderside? Does that have any specific meaning that I'm not aware of?
All of the good names were taken.
Oh, okay, but does it have any specific meaning, or did you just come up with a cool?
It's the anti-cliche, and it's just stuck. It was like everybody was naming their band, something that, death from above, or, gods of fire, or, it's just like at the time, it's like I didn't really want to take it too seriously. I don't want people to think it was like this thing I'm trying to shove down your throat.
I think it works for a couple reasons. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to really mean anything, but it's as they say sometimes, keep it simple, stupid. For one thing, I mean, when you're printing up logos, you're printing up like album covers or whatever. It's one word. It's pretty simple. It doesn't take a lot of space, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and we've tried to rename the thing 100 different times, and every time it's the craziest thing. Like, you come up with amazing names for your band, and yet they're not better than Budderside.
And then I bet when people do a search for Budderside, it's the only thing that comes up. And
exactly.
That's
if you spell it right, you're only going to find us. Yeah. It's a special thing, and it's like once you get it, and you enjoy the name. You enjoy saying it, Budderside.
And so,
it's a feeling. It's us. It's nothing else. It's only us.
So I'm excited to hear that you guys have some more new music on the way. I'll definitely be getting that. Now, I wanted to ask some people, can they get the album and the new album as well that's going to be released soon? Can they get physical copies, or just is this available digitally? What's the story there?
Out of the gate, everything will be digital. Yeah, you'll be able to find the videos, the songs. Everything's going to be on streaming platforms and things like that. And then once we've released a good amount, we've got about 8 songs in the bag, and that's again at one song every 4 to 6 weeks. It'll be a while before
I see.
Are out, and then we'll probably give it a title as a volume, or as a chapter, call it an album, and then put it out physically. But we'll have the singles available.
In regard to spiritual violence,
you want to have those things on tour for people to have.
In regards to spiritual violence, are you guys going to be releasing that physically soon?
Oh yeah, no, it's out everywhere. You can get
good.
it. All of that is available, and definitely when we go out on tour, I've got a couple boxes full, so we're eager to get those out to the fans, sign some copies. You can take that piece of history home with you. I will have some LPs printed up. Vinyl is super cool. I think it's cool to have. So
what's funny about that is, vinyl in the last several years, as you know, has made quite the comeback. I mean, I've even seen like Rat Pack Records is starting to also release cassettes and stuff of their releases, and For old school folks like us, I mean, it's pretty, for me, I should say, it's pretty cool because a lot of people listening to this, they won't know what a record store is. I mean, but back in the day when I was growing up, you didn't have to buy your CDs online. You could go to a music store and buy them,
Right. Yeah, I think albums, vinyl's just the coolest thing to have. Like, it's like, that's what inspired me to get into music. My sister's record collection, I would thumb through her albums, Highway to Hell and Journey Records and Tattoo You, and those album covers, and like Boston's albums.
And see, the cool thing,
pictures on the inside, you're just like, wow.
The cool thing for bands like you guys, even if you do a limited run, it makes it that much more special. People maybe they will go out and get a vinyl copy because maybe if it's a limited run, it'll become a real collector's thing, you know?
Yeah, it's collector's item stuff. It's memorabilia more so than like a tool to listen to the music. Just it's all on your phone right now.
Yeah, because I'll tell you a funny story about that. I've had several people tell me, they don't even own a turntable, but just because vinyl's beginning to be such a collector's thing, I don't even have a turntable player on it, but I want that in my collection. I want just to have a collection of vinyl. I mean, that's pretty hardcore, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I've got one myself. I mean, I do have a girlfriend gifted a record player, and I use it. I've got, some Motorhead records and Van Halen records, and gosh, starting to collect quite a.
And when you put on those Motorhead records, that's got to be the ultimate feeling. Like, not only am I listening to my Motorhead albums, but I knew that guy. He signed me to my record deal. I'm doing what I am because of him. I actually knew the guy singing these songs.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. I'll listen to the Black Magic record, and I remember sitting there looking at the pieces of paper he was drawing the lyrics on, and sharing them with me and being like, "You think this is cool?" I'd be like, I think it's pretty freaking
And then
cool.
I think it's funny when people think all that Motorhead did was Ace of Spades. There's a lot more to what he did, and I mean, people don't even realize that he was a co-writer on some of like on No More Tears album, Ozzy Osbourne.
Wrote a lot of Ozzy stuff, a lot of music out there he wrote, but we often don't.
Take the time.
Your spinal cord the credit it deserves for doing all the things it does in a day, and that's exactly what Lemmy was to rock and roll.
Yeah. Well, I could talk to you all day, Patrick, but I won't keep you. Thanks for.
Yeah, right. It's a great conversation, Jason. Thanks for having me on. It's really
so yeah, I hope you will keep in touch with me. I mean, we're friends on Facebook, but do me a favor. Let me know when the new album or the new music gets ready to drop, because anytime you have anything to promote, believe me. As you can hear just from talking to me, I really love your songwriting and your songs. So I'm all on board as far as helping you promote anything. So let's continue to do this.
Instagram's really our base of operations. That's really
Okay.
Every morning I wake up and anything there is to tell you about our band. I post something at least once a day about what we're up to.
I will follow you then there, and like I said, this interview we did will be going up in early September. I'll let you know as soon as it posts, and once it does, you're welcome to share it on all your sites. Now, you mentioned Motorhead. I was just curious before I let you go. Who are some other bands that influenced you?
I mean, today I'm being inspired by Don Broco and Dead Sarah and Bad Flower and so many great bands are popping out now that I feel influenced me just as much as my heroes did when I was so young.
That's great, because you're listening to all these artists that I haven't even heard of, and just hearing you talk about it, like, man, I'm gonna go check that out. I'm gonna go see what that's about.
Oh man, there's so much cool music now that it's like Incubus I love too, Soundgarden, Chris Cornell. I mean, all of those guys influence me on a daily basis still. I try to, ask Alexa to start playing some of that stuff, and I definitely try to drown myself in music every day. But, as a kid, of course, the first thing I can remember being inspired by wanting to be a rock star is probably single-handedly Angus Young's fault. His album, and being on the cover of that Highway to Hell album, looking at him and just wanting to encompass that energy. AC/DC.
Have you heard the new AC/DC album, the last one they put out? Because I tell you, to me, it's the best thing they've done, really. And this is saying someone since Back in Black. And I tell you, even though Malcolm Young does not play a lick and was not involved in the I think he may have written some of the riffs, but he doesn't play a lick on the album. But you could feel him all throughout there, his influence.
Well, I'm sure losing him inspired. There's a lot of feel in there. That's because he's always going to be in the music. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
just alive or dead. He's in there. But yeah, those guys keep doing it, and that's that's the best. It's like that. They don't disappoint ever.
Oh, never. I mean, it's been several years since they last put it out, but I tell you. It's just as good as anything they put out, if not better. And that's a lot of those classic bands. You can't really say that. So it's the fact that they can still, write great new music. There's something to be said for AC/DC.
Yeah, again, bringing up songwriters, it's like the Indigo Girls inspired me just as much. But Michael Jackson, Prince, got to give those guys credit. They stole my freaking mind and my heart and my everything for just took up
Prince, forget about a great singer and performer and songwriter. He was his own one-man band. He did everything.
And he created so many bands that, like, if you check into like the documentaries and stuff that, how many bands he was single-handedly responsible for, like the time and, you know, just so many things he did that like you thought would have been their own groups that made it to quite the bands that made it pretty big, but it was all something he was doing as this side project.
I mean, the drummer, She Lee, nobody would even know her if it wasn't for him, you know?
Yeah.
Well, you take care, Patrick, and we'll be in touch. Thanks for doing the interview. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Awesome, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Okay, bye-bye.